Good evening and welcome to just another G.I. Joe show, episode number 5. I'm your host, Mike, tonight, and as you can see, it's just me and no puppet. Sorry, I couldn't find a puppet tonight. Fred is under the weather, had some migraines, but anywho, it's just me. I'm just going to give it a shot on my own and we'll go from there and see what we can do. We will start out with a little bit of news, not a whole lot really news at all, to be honest with you, from the club since last time we aired. The only thing that has really come out was that Larry Hama was going to be at the show this year, which everyone was kind of waiting for the club to actually come out and say that. They were kind of thinking that maybe he wasn't, because usually he's listed in the brochure when the brochure goes live, but he was not listed. But anywho, also from the club, we know that it is fixing to be March. We are all waiting upon our next shipment of FSS 5.0 figures. We do know that the package we're supposed to get was delayed by the Chinese factory for production, and that shipment was shipped out separately from the rest of the figures. Which, if you're not a Transformer subscription service holder, you'll also know that, as myself, I am, they are extremely behind on the Transformer side of everything. And as far as what they're going to do is, instead of sending one shipment for 6 months, they're sending us two shipments. So we'll get two Transformer figures 3 times. And then that last one, we'll get our 7th bonus figure, whoever it might be, which we have no idea who that's going to be. Now, they were supposed to have that shipped out from China by Chinese New Year, which I'm not familiar with all that. I know it was sometime before February, or a couple weeks ago or something. I can't remember how the email went, but they have now stated that it did not ship till after the Chinese New Year. So I'm going to guess that the figure subscription service figures for GI Joe is on the same boat with the Transformers subscription service figures that we are waiting on. So, and the only reason that the one is out of whack was because there was a manufacturing delay on the figure in that package, which we don't know who it is. But of course, we're all speculating. You know, I'm calling it to be, I think I said Raptor. I think Sneak Peek is who I was thinking it might be. I can't recall. Um, Give me a second. I'll look up the Photoshop picture I did. No, I was thinking it was Raptor, and he looks like Tommy Chong off of Cheech and Chong, but it's oh, I'm drawing a brain fart, and that's where Fred would swoop right in and answer it for me. But it's the Gung Ho repaint from the 50th line. Someone can please answer that for me in the chat. And I am able to watch chat from my cell phone, which is why you see my eyes going up and down, looking around. It's not that I'm high on something. It's just I'm looking around for the answer or what I'm trying to do. But we are in the chat. If you have any questions, comments, do feel free to post them. I will see them, and if if it's something that I can actually answer, I'll answer. If not, then we're just up creek without a paddle on that one. But let's see what else there was. I want to give a shout out to the His Tank forums. On their Facebook page, they posted that we were going to go live tonight, not knowing, I don't think that we were going to be just a one-man show tonight. But anyways, and also to Cobra Island on Facebook that posted about us going live as well. I'll look here on some news. So we'll go to a screen share to where you can see what I'm seeing. All right. So we should be seeing this right here, which is the HISS tank. If not, then this is going to be extremely awkward. There we go. And we will go under the forums to the news and rumors. And I think the last update was, yeah, people were still talking about the 5.0. There's not a whole lot of talk on JoeCon, to be honest with you. They, since there's not much news coming out on that, we just don't got a whole lot of people, talking about it. We've seen all the figures. We've had all our complaints and gripes about what parts they use, the parts they didn't use, something of that nature. And then, in our guest lineup that we know of so far. Yeah, the last update on here was 22nd, which was just 3 days ago. I know they didn't get a whole lot of updating on here. Yeah, some people had asked about Hasbro, if Hasbro is going to be there this year. 46 Zone asked about that. Usually, we don't find out till later on in the year, or later on, when we get closer to showtime, that we will get Hasbro or not. One would hope, and one would really hope, if I had a discussion with some friends, if we had some friends that were asking, hey, when will we get IDW? And that would be extremely awesome if we got IDW on the show, and or on to the show, and it just hasn't happened yet, and we just don't know what to really expect. I'm actually going to jump off screen share for a minute. So this is really, live feed as we go along. I had a buddy of mine just text message me, and he probably thought to himself, "My God, Mike, what the hell are you doing? You're jumping all over the place." That's actually for you all who don't follow me on a regular basis. I also do Galactic Gumbo and Cybercast on the G1 Hexatron channel, and Josh has offered to come jump on. Like I said, he probably realized, hey man, you're looking pretty bad. So let's see here real quick. Paste, yeah, send. So let's hope that Josh shows up and saves the day, because I just am just here, there, and everywhere. A funny thing this week was one of the board members on the HISS. His name is he goes by the name Skinny. I think he also goes by Skinny on Twitter. He actually told me, and let me find the message. And I was actually, surprised, kind of intrigued that he would, say, ask me about this. He says, "You have a gravelly voice. How is your Sergeant Slaughter impersonations? Can give you a few lines. I would like to see if you can do him. I need an impersonator for the Muppet Show, for a Muppet Show. G.I. Joe Slaughter as a Muppet." I am intrigued to kind of figure out about it myself. I think it's interesting. No one's never asked me to, say, anything along the lines of, can you read something to me? I think you sound like a good person to talk to about reading a character, which, especially Sergeant Slaughter, because, I've heard Slaughter so many times, when I was a kid watching wrestling, and then also just him in general, at conventions, TV shows, and stuff like that. And actually go back on YouTube and actually watch a few things to get the idea of the voice again. I actually had it all planned out how I was going to send this to Fred, and because he sent me some lines of Slaughter talking with Falcon, and so I was going to read some lines off of that, but it hasn't gotten to that point yet with since Fred couldn't make it. But I'm hoping maybe Josh jumps on here soon. Let's see if he saw that. Okay, he said give him 5 minutes. Okay, that was a minute ago. Sure, he went to jump around for me. I appreciate him helping me out. I know I had asked Rick, who's been on the show before, and Dakota, both for Dakota. I think he's working, and then Rick, he's probably playing with some toys or something. Yeah, man gets so many toys, and it's not even funny. But we will see here in just a second. Not trying to have no dead air here, but I'm miserably failing here. So if you're in the chat, I mean, just call out, say something, ask me a question, keep me going until Josh gets here. And I'm looking, just a quick note to people. My email is Autobot City Toys, Toyz, 1978 at gmail.com. Feel free, if you would like to have your collection, spotlighted, where we'll look at it, not critique it or anything, but you will talk about, I mean, you can, send pictures, up to 10 to 12 pictures of what you have, like encased or displayed, wall space, even customs. I'd love to see some of your guys' customs. I see a lot of people talk about them. I know the His Tank forums have posted a lot on those as well. And so curiosity on that would, like I said, even if you got just one picture in your mother's attic that says so-and-so's G.I. Joes, send me a picture of it, because I want to know that you have some G.I. Joes out there, even though they're in your attic. Dead air. Oh, let's see. I said I had asked Dakota. I asked Rick. I actually even asked Jesse. I can't pronounce his last name, but if you really go in the Fun Pub shows, Jesse from the Collectors Club. He does a lot of their artwork. He works in the club store at the conventions. He's just all around nice guy. Of course, I only gave him like a 30-minute notice. I don't think he was able to make the show in time or anything of that nature. But let's see. I know Fred had asked me to ask. He had asked me to reach out to J.E. Russell. We had J.E. Russell last week, and I actually want to get him back on the show. He had a power outage, or power went out at his home where he lost power, and he just wasn't able to get back on until almost like the last 30 minutes of the show last time around. So I'd like to get him back on again, where he can talk about his Kickstarter some more, and then maybe we can talk some more about the Collectors Club, or not the Collectors Club, but the JoeCon figure that will be debuted or not debuted, but the one that I have in the customizing class, So hopefully we can get him back on in the next episode, which that'll be 2 weeks from now. As I do these every bi-weekly. Let's see. Still waiting on Josh. He said give him 5 minutes. That was 4 minutes ago. Let's see what happens. I can see him running around, getting it all together. And for all y'all who doesn't catch Cybercast or Galactic Gumbo, last week, Cybercast, we did it was the New York Toy Fair special episode. Saturday night, we were on for 3 hours, and we reviewed over everything related to Transformers for those 3 hours on the show. And basically, we were able to go over what all they had and everything that was there, and then Sunday evening we did 4 hours and covered everything that was left over that we didn't cover on Saturday night. So you can catch those on video form on the G1 Hexatron channel. And speaking of the G1 Hexatron channel, I am so graciously been saved by Josh.
I don't know about saved. I could definitely bounce ideas off of you, but as far as knowing about as much GI Joe as you and Rick and Dakota and all those, those probably would have been better choices. But I'm willing to step in if you need me.
Oh, I appreciate it. I mean, I figured Dakota's at work because that crazy schedule is, and then I messaged Rick, and he just was. I think he was just. I mean, done for the day. I think he was just going to sit back, and that was pretty much it. What I got from him, he was. Let's see what he said here. Usually I'm up for it, but I would love to. But tonight he's just exhausted. I figure that's the excuse he gave me. He's probably playing with his toys.
Yeah,
because he gets so many toys. I mean, man, he has. I mean, if y'all didn't catch episode 3 with Rick, y'all can see his background. He has, I mean, wall shelf among shelf of Hot Toys, Star Wars. I mean, he's just got all kinds of stuff, and I just don't understand how he has all that and he's still married. So.
I know, I'm a bachelor. That's the only way I could get all this stuff.
I know. If you were a bachelor, you wouldn't be able to get all that. I mean, I'm lucky that my wife is not as supportive, but more of she deals with it to a certain degree. That's about it on that end. But if you weren't catching on earlier, Josh, I was just really talking about news updates from the club, which I don't know. Did you do figure subscription Transformers?
No, I did not.
Okay.
There was a few of them in there that I really think are cool, but usually I usually pass on that. I usually just sign up for the club so that I can get their free figure because I really like that Armada Starscream mold that they did Ramjet and Skywarp out of.
Okay, and I know because we were talking how if you weren't aware that on GI or a figure subscription service started shipping out a couple months ago for us, and we got in all the boxes that come 1A and 1B because there's 2 figures in each package, and the first one came out correctly. Then an email came out stating that they were going to ship out of order because that number 2 was whatever's in number 2's package was delayed by the people over in China, manufactured. There was apparently some issues, so they shipped us the 3rd month's in its place, and so we got the 3rd month's. And as we know on the Transformer side, that the club has they're waiting on the boat to show up with the figure subscription toys for Transformers, and they're saying that they're waiting as well for the Joe. So I'm assuming that the Joe and the Transformers are on the same boat, and I would think at this point that the club is probably going to shut out those Transformers faster than they will the GI Joe. What do you think, since they're so far behind on Transformers?
Well, do they do any, as far as the shipping goes, do they do like a blanket shipping to where it's like, okay, this figure, shipping's going to be $10, and like, do they go ahead and pre-charge you, or would they look at it as people that maybe have subscription to Transformers and GI Joe, to where they're like, hey, they're going to come in. Let's say if they were going to come in within like a week or so of each other, then they'd be like, let's put the people that that just have Transformers or GI Joe, will send theirs out. But the ones that maybe have both subscriptions, that they might put those together to save you guys a little bit on shipping. Do you think that they would do anything like that, or do they do anything like that? Because I don't know.
No, they do not, because I get both of them, and I mean, I think we're actually kind of lucky that they're going to send 2 Transformer figures at a time, because they're so far behind. Because originally it's 1 figure per month, and now they're saying we're going to send 2 figures a month up until until they're done, because as we all know, Transformer Club is shut down and Hasbro took over all that, so they're trying to get that out and done and over with.
I didn't know if they did anything like that as far as shipping goes, because I know whenever I had 2 subscriptions to Matty Collector, for Thundercats and He-Man, or Masters of the Universe, like I would get billed like 2 shipping things and then 2 separate packages. I'm like, that I've got both of these, right? I was like, just put them together, and save me a little bit of money here. But I can definitely understand, whenever you have a subscription that these fans, they want their figures immediately, as soon as possible.
Oh yeah, they do. I mean, especially the ones like for me, example, I paid in full for the Joe subscription when it went up, so mine's paid for. And you would think people like that, they would just ship it all at one time and be done with it because you paid for it. It's paid for completely. But they want it all to be a surprise, and I always liked that when they said they wanted to be a surprise with Transformers when they first started out with that. You would get the package and
That
the
didn't last
sticker.
long.
Yeah, that's right. And the sticker would have the character's name on it. So as soon as you open the mailbox, it wasn't no surprise opening the box. It was, well, you know who it is because it says it on the sticker on the box.
Well, I mean, also, as far as surprises, when anything that comes like that, like I know Dakota, he likes to be surprised with his subscription stuff, and but he gets on the internet every day, and I'm just like, if you know that something, okay, we've just shipped, that as soon as you get that notification that, hey, we've just shipped this to you, if you want to be surprised, you need to stay off the internet for 5 days or however long it takes to get to you, because the first person, they're going to pull it up and they're going to put it on.
Oh yeah.
It's the same thing with with like TV shows, like spoilers. I guess you could say the same thing with this as you do with movies or TV shows or stuff like that. Like I don't start watching my TV shows until like Tuesday night, and I watch The Walking Dead, but here on Monday, because it comes on Sunday, on Monday there's already like, I'm just scrolling through, the internet, my Twitter feed, Facebook, and then you just happen to come across where they're like, hey, this and this happened, or hey, this guy died. And I'm like, oh, well, that's awesome. There needs to be like a period. If you're watching a television show, then if it airs on Sunday, like, let's grace period till like maybe Saturday, like 6 days, right up until the next one, or like even movies, like people spoiling movies and stuff like that.
I stay away from the movie spoils as much as I can. I heard like when Star Wars episode 7 came out, someone had posted on a Facebook group about it was the weekend it came out, and he had shared like a screenshot of them killing spoiler alert if you haven't seen it yet, but anyways, when they killed Han Solo, of him getting stabbed, he like put that screen on there, and people were just, ripping this dude, which I can't blame them.
Well, I mean, I think that there's a grace period. So like right now, like episode 7's been out for over a year at theater. It's well past the, hey, you have to say spoiler alert for it. I think Rogue One is well past what you have to say spoiler alert for, because anyone that was a true Star Wars fan has already seen the movie. To where, like, let's say Rogue One, it came out in December, beginning of December, and here we are at the end of February. So if you say you're a Star Wars fan and you haven't seen the movie, then you probably don't really care anyway, because you're really not as big of a Star Wars fan as you thought.
Right.
Because I went and saw that on day one. With Toyz, I can see it being a little bit different. I don't know if we're just told. I just jumped in here, so I don't even know if we're like totally off topic, or if we're talking about like spoilers, or when you get that shipment and stuff. But Toyz, I can see a little bit different, because you get it in and you're excited about it. You want to take pictures, like Rick when he gets stuff up, in.
Oh yeah.
He's taking pictures and posting it on, and Twitter. And me, I'm someone that, I don't do a subscription with that stuff, and I don't really care about surprises. Like if he got his, Masters Universe or Thundercats, subscription thing early or whatever, and then it was like, oh, it's this guy. Like I wouldn't care. Well, they tell you that anyway, what dates you are getting it. But let's say it's Transformers, like I don't care. I bought the subscription. I know I'm getting all of them. So
right, doesn't matter which one comes in first.
Yeah, so I guess that's where I'm a little bit different, as far as Toyz and stuff goes. But Yeah, it's a little bit harder to do. You just have to stay off the internet if you really want that surprise. But you
Right?
said they put it on the box anyway, so
Yeah, when they first started that first subscription, maybe the second one, maybe I don't remember, but I know they stopped because people were really complaining about that. They were really hot about that. But, so it's funny you should mention the TV thing because I did not know that you waited till after the weekend or midweek to watch it. But I had posted that picture on Twitter of Harambe and Glenn and Abraham, and you're like, dude, I haven't watched it yet.
yeah, like because I work nights and
Right.
it's so dead there. They just told me they're like, hey, we don't need you falling asleep, so bring your laptop and just watch movies or TV or whatever. So, I even canceled my cable because I'm like, I just watch all my television shows while I'm at work,
Oh
and then
wow.
I don't go until Tuesday night. So then so like all weekend I'm like I'm clueless, you know. And then when I come in Tuesday night, then I'm like, all right, let's start with my favorite shows, and then I kind of trickle down and work through there. So
Gotcha. Let me tell you, I was talking about one of the guys off the His Tank boards sent me a message earlier today about saying that he thought I had a good enough voice to be Sergeant Slaughter in his it is a let's see what he need an impersonator for a Muppet video, and he thought that I might have a good enough voice for Sergeant Slaughter, which I
a Muppet Sergeant Slaughter.
right, a Muppet Sergeant Slaughter. That's why. That's why. I mean, it sounds interesting. It might. I don't know. It's something that apparently he's been fooling around with, and he had said that he had. I think he messaged some other people about it. So I'm going to go. I told him I would read this on air tonight. So I'm going to go to screen share. I know. Hold on a second. Click on me. I remember you telling me how to do this. Let's see. I guess you're seeing the His Tank boards.
Yep.
Okay. His name is Skinny on the His Tanks, and this is what he had sent me, and I didn't know if I should read it or should I read it like trying to act like Sergeant Slaughter,
Oh,
or should
absolutely. I absolutely. I believe this is a real treat for people.
right because I actually had to go back to I had to go back and listen to some videos on YouTube of Sergeant Slaughter. I could hear his voice in my head, but then I was kind of like, man, I don't know. I got to hear it just to make sure I would sound right. And I was kind of thinking to myself, he had said that, how do you say it? Let me look at my other message here. He says, a gravelly voice. How is your Sergeant Slaughter impersonation? I've never tried to do a Sergeant. And of course, when I read it, I'm sitting there saying, you maggots, and all this other stuff. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, I just don't. What I hear and what actually comes out is two totally different things. So let's see.
But you need me to be Falcon?
Yeah, you be Falcon. Oh, okay. At ease, disease. I've been expecting you. My name is Sergeant Slaughter, special drill instructor for G.I. Joe.
That's terrific, Sarge. But I'm trying to cut back on this chicken sweat just now. So if you don't mind.
You're going nowhere, Space Case. You're here because you're an industrial strength fella. My job is to whip you into shape, and I mean whip. There are only two ways out of my command: on your feet like a man, or in the. Is that a ditty bag?
Ditty bag. All right.
I thought it said, or in a ditty bag, an itty bitty ditty bag. You got it?
Yes, sir.
You better. Now straighten up and meet the renegades. They're not real dependable now, but when I get there with them, what are you going to be?
Perfect.
That's right. Okay. Sorry. I'm just trying to read it at the same time. That's right. Perfect means Mercer. an ex-Cobra Viper who's seen the light. Red Dog, booed out of pro football for unnecessary roughness. Toyz, a circuit acrobat with loose spats in his big top.
Hey guys.
Okay, so that's the best I can do on trying to figure out. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it's like I'm sure I'm nowhere near what he needed me to be, and of course, I probably needed to be more serious than I was. It was. I mean, I feel honored that he asked me. I mean, it's really cool that he asked me to do that. Or thought I had a good enough voice. I mean, if I was in a room by myself and not live on YouTube right now, I could probably be more serious about it. But I mean, maybe he'd hear something that he would like. He wanted to do something else. I might get a message like, "Oh my God, you just murdered my plot. What were you thinking of?"
Well, if he's gonna be the director, so all I need you to do is like, here's the lines. You say this, what you think, sounds what you think he wants to hear, and then he hears it, and then he's like, all right, a couple changes, and then do it again.
Right. Yeah, maybe so. I mean, who knows? I mean, he's more than welcome to message me, and we would talk it over. I'm gonna go here on the his thing. Josh, I know we've only really hung out one show, and that was this past BotCon. We didn't hang out tremendously all that long. But for people who don't really know, I usually do like a breakfast meetup at BotCon. I did that every year, starting in 10. It was started with a guy named Keith, and then the years he didn't do it, I did it on my own, and I did it every year up until BotCon stopped. But usually, I'm well known for being a drinker when I go to these shows because I just don't get to do too much of this with people I like to hang out with.
Oh, so, you're talking to the guy that keeps beers in his backpack. So
you too. That I am known for that because when we were talking about this on a Facebook early this morning, me and Jim, Gen 1 fan that from Transformers, but we had talked about this, and so we put a poll up on his tanks under meetups and conventions. It's a poll here where we've said, what people wanted to do as far as, get together. Usually, each website usually has like a meetup where they get together, drinks, talk, BS, get to see people they don't get to see on a regular basis. And so we put this one up here that we put our choices here are Wednesday night after package pickup, Thursday night after package pickup, Friday night after golden ticket reception, or get drunk every night. And as you can see, right now it's a landslide of 5 votes, which we just started this, a few hours ago. And that just goes to show you that the fandom is nothing but a bunch of drunks.
So, if you don't know what night, I don't know how far, away it is, but
June, we're mid-June.
June, but maybe you don't know what day you're going to be able to commit or what all events or stuff like that are going on. That, hey, you put every night, then that something's going to be going down every night, so you don't have to worry about like, oh, it's on Wednesday night, but I have this other thing, so I just missed it. If you miss Wednesday, then you'll be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So.
You're right, because like me personally, I will probably be down in the bar every night, and I'm with this being the last 2 years of JoeCon, kind of like BotCon, you want to kind of go all out. You want to be able to enjoy everything, see people that you might never see again, and enjoy everyone in the fandom who enjoys what you enjoy. And it was like a Jim messaged me this morning when we were talking. I posted the poll on the Facebook group, which I'll go to that here in just a minute. And Jim text messaged me. He says, "You're not buying anything at the bar. It will be coming out of your backpack, you cheap ass." Well, no, because when we go, like when we started taking the book bag with beers with us, we would take it to golden ticket receptions, and I got busted in 2014 at the golden ticket reception because I drink Coors Light, and I had the bottle on the table, and the lady who worked there came by, and she says to me, "I'm going to have to confiscate that." I'm like, "Excuse me?" And she was like, "Yeah, I know you brought that in because we don't serve that here." And I'm like, "Oh, well, you just don't carry what I drink, and this is my last one. This is one I brought with me, knowing that I had the book bag underneath the table, about 5 or 6 more beers in it." So she walked. Of course, with me and Jim, it's kind of funny because he knows, or if Jim, he'll fill a bottle up with tea, and then he'll fill the rest of it up with Jacks. I mean, these conventions are pretty much for us to be able to go out and get drunk and have a good time. That's if you don't go to these shows and get drunk or have a good time, then you shouldn't be going to begin with. Because I know, like this past.
If you're 21 or older, not that you're like promoting like
Yeah. But I know,
underage drinking.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you're 21 or under, no. So I know, like this past JoeCon, which was really hilarious. I'm gonna tell you what we did. Me and Jim, we're cheap. That's just all it's to it. When you go to these conventions, you have to cut out everything there is in order to make your money stretch, either to get that extra toy or find that tool or find something you're wanting in your holy grail or of sorts. And at JoeCon this past year, we were at it was Colorado, and the event was at the Embassy Suites. Great hotel. Ballrooms were huge. It was very huge space, very big space, more space than they needed for a JoeCon, in my opinion. Anyways, if you don't stay in an Embassy Suites, or you didn't know about this, is at 5:30 daily, they have happy hour where if you're staying at the hotel for 2 hours, they put like a little bar of hors d'oeuvres, like cheese dip, cheese, crackers, all kinds of different little things, and you get free drinks for 2 hours. So me and Jim, we just walk up there for everybody else, and for 2 hours we're getting drunk. I mean, for free is the funny part. So we were able to, of course, we weren't staying at the hotel. We were staying at a hotel down the road. So
you're still screen sharing too.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm fixing
to
get to this thing here in just a second. But that's the thing on that, was that we did that, and and I have a good time. I mean, this past JoeCon, we usually have like rooms set up, for the sell stuff, and we didn't have a room at the hotel. So Jim sets up down in the lobby in like the eating area for the buffet and the drinks and everything. So he gets like 2 or 3 tables, puts them all together, puts all his Joe stuff up there to sell. And Pete walks by 2 or 3 times. And he finally said, he was like, "Really, guys?" He says, "You couldn't afford to get just one damn table at the show. You got to sit out here in the lobby selling your shit." I mean, he was just amazed. He just thought it was funny. He walked on, and everything. It was funny. It really was. But I mean, we had a good time, getting drunk there. And so if you don't go to the shows and you don't get drunk, then you're not doing it right. So, but on the for people who don't know, we do have the unofficial 2017 GI Joe Swan and Dolphin Hotel, where we update everything on here as much as possible from the club, so people who don't get the emails or anything. But we did the same thing over here. Would not be a good night for meetup for drinks. 7 of us had said to get drunk all 3 nights. Let's see, 4, 5, 6 people over here had stated that Friday night for golden ticket. And what's really funny about this, if you look who voted, Jesse's on here. So he wants to come out and get drunk with us, which he does. He came and got drunk with us 2014. He came in the room. Jesse was throwing back to Jack. He's a Jack man. I was really surprised. But the one name on this, which is very interesting, and not only did he vote, but he shared this on his own timeline, and that's the top guy up here, Kurt Bonziak. Bonzani. I can never pronounce his name correctly. If you don't know who he is, Josh, he was like the marketing guru for Hasbro with GI Joe back in the day. He is kind of like he shows up for like, he's like a guest every year for JoeCon. They get him every year. super cool guy. When I volunteered last year, and there was no one coming through the line at the time, he'd just sit back and talk and just shoot the crap with you. I mean, real cool guy. And I was actually kind of amazed that not only did he share, but he actually voted in this. So I will definitely be hitting him up for JoeCon this year to come drink with us after the golden ticket reception. Which, for me personally, I've always done the golden ticket reception for JoeCon. I just found it to be a whole lot more interesting than we did at BotCon. BotCon just wasn't. I don't think I just didn't get enough out of that to justify the price that the club charges. Granted, they did, like they did with BotCon, they did raise the rate on golden ticket this year for the golden ticket reception by $20. But there was nothing extra, like an extra figure, like we got last year at BotCon. They gave us the Flash Century. They just bumped it up. I think, what was it, $25, or was it an extra 100? No, it was an extra 100, wasn't it?
I'm not exactly sure because I've never gone golden ticket. That's more of a Dakota thing.
Yeah.
He always says he likes the receptions and stuff like that. Like, he mingles. He's gonna get his plate of finger foods or a couple plates finger foods, and he's gonna mingle. He's gonna talk to everybody.
So, yeah, Dakota will.
But some people, I guess, if you're not that outgoing, you're really not gonna talk to any of these celebrities, because I can only guess that it's kind of like that. You have a bunch of the celebrities come to the golden ticket reception, kind of talk with the other golden ticket holders. If you're not someone that's kind of willing to go up and talk to these people, and you're just gonna kind of quiet and reserved and kind of just gonna sit there and eat your finger foods, then I wouldn't pay for golden ticket price.
No,
basically
man,
wasting it.
When I've gone to the golden ticket reception, man, like take for example, BotCon 2014 was the first and only year I did it for BotCon, and going back to the book bag full of beer, me and Jim were on our way over to the reception area, and he goes, we're walking over there, and it was Michael McConaughey, the voice of G1 Trax and Cosmos and Cross Country from G.I. Joe. And he's walking by, and he's kind of just looking around, And so we said, hey, are you lost, just kidding with him. And he says, no. He says, I went to this bar down the road. I wanted to get a drink. And they had like 21 beers on tap, but he couldn't find one server to get him a beer. And so me and Jim were like, well, hey, we got a bag full of beer right here. So I turn around, he gets a beer out of the back of my bag. So we're sitting there, and we're just, literally, we're outside talking with him, before the golden ticket reception. And he, just talking, he's drinking a beer. Remember, I think he got 2 beers out of my bag. And next thing we know, we're talking, and then out of nowhere, he started talking like Trax, drinking a beer. But every time he mentioned beer, he would replace it with Energon's drink. And it was really cool. And that's what made me want to get him to come to Little Rock Comic Con 2 years ago. He was matter of fact, him and David Kay were the first guests I ever flown out to come to a convention before. And they both showed up. And Michael was had a good time when he came out here. He actually stopped at a liquor store, got him a bottle of wine. And he stayed, had a good time, I think. And but anyways, he did that, and the golden ticket reception there was good with him. And then go ahead.
That's kind of how me and Dakota met the first time, was at BotCon in Dallas, and like we didn't really talk much there, and didn't like kind of meet until like after, and then we kind of recalled the same moment, and we're like, oh, that was you, But our first kind of interaction was, we're sitting outside, and then here comes Gary Chalk, and he sits in between us, and he's like, either one of you guys have a light, and Dakota like whips out his lighter, like he's BB-8, just like he's ready. It lights it for him. Like people are still like looking for their pocket, in their pockets. And then he just starts, like, no one really asked him anything. It was just, he just starts talking to me and Dakota about some snowstorm and driving in a snowstorm and a car accident. He reminds me whenever he's telling the story. I don't know if you watch this television show called The Blacklist, but Spader, his character gets on there and like someone will be like, "Hey, do you like chicken or something like that?" He goes, "Oh, this reminds me of a time." It just goes on this random thing. You're like, what the hell just happened there? He kind of did that, to where he just started talking like no one really asked him a question. And like Dakota, of course, was all there, like, with big puppy eyes, and I'm just listening, laughing because it's funny. And then like later, you know who that is, and I'm like, it's one of the guys from TV. He goes, well, of course, he's like, that's Optimus Primal, and then I didn't care about Beast Wars then. I don't now. I was like, so whatever. I was like, cool guy,
Yeah.
But
he really is. I mean, I remember when we had the conversation when we were doing I was getting the guest list together for this year's show, and we got Gary Chalk coming, and I mean Dakota is just, I mean, he's actually bringing one of his IKEA cases, I believe, and I think every Primal and Gary Chalk voice acting toy he has, he's going to display them behind Gary Chalk at his table, because I usually get people to because I can't do everything. I can't be at every guest's table all day long. So I get handlers to basically, help them get through the show, collecting money, or, not having someone stay there, talk for 30 minutes when there's, people behind them in line. And of course, Dakota was, I mean, he's all ready to be there for Gary Chalk this year. So I know he's looking forward to it.
did you? I thought we brought it up, but I forgot what you said. Did you get Pink Ranger, Amy Jo Johnson?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. You get her. I want to be her handler.
Yeah. I think you and everybody else who want to be her handler.
Dibs.
Yeah. We
Little Rock Comic Con 2021. Dibs. Whatever it is.
She just actually started kind of getting out in the circuit. She's not a real big circuit fan on that, but she's getting out there. She's doing a lot of shows with Jason David Frank, who was the Green Ranger, which they kind of like have a little love interest together on the show. So I guess she feels comfortable doing with him, or they're trying to rekindle something. I don't know. I mean, they are just, they're doing a lot of shows together. I do know that. But back to my story, I was talking about the golden ticket, which I think I kind of forgot what I was getting to the point of.
Oh.
I think
you said that if they don't include an extra figure, even though the price is increased.
Oh, that's right. And like this year, every year's been 300. They're going to 320. So I'm about 100% positive. I think it went up an extra $125. I think that's what it was. It went up quite a bit. I know a lot of people were raving and raving about it, but then once they said an extra figure, and then they're like, okay, and they were all happy about it. Then they said it was a Legends figure, and everyone's like, what? A Legends figure? Man, I want a Voyager for that price, So it didn't really get to that, I don't think, where people were really happy regardless of what they got. Now, if they have JoeCon, because next year is going to be the last year for JoeCon. A lot of people think that maybe that the club will do it in Dallas, to where they can have a big blowout and get rid of everything. So if that happens, you're going to come down to that one?
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah, I do. I'll do all the Dallas cons.
Yeah, they were at the Hyatt, which is where BotCon 2012 was at when you came, and that's a real nice hotel. I really like that. That's the
Reunion Tower, right?
Yes, Reunion Tower. Hyatt.
We call it Reunion Tower.
Yeah, that's a good, nice hotel, and like I said, when we did a JoeCon 2014, which was my first JoeCon, and me and Jim, we had like, man, I think 7 of us in a room because we get a lot of people to split rooms and make the cost cheaper. And what was it we did? We had a suite next door, and Jim had brought in his all his shelving and everything, and we had it all set up like a showroom, and it was just magnificent, you know. And we actually were able to. It was funny because we were passing out flyers saying, you know, it was Pappy's Collectibles and GI Joe Comics '08, you know, room to room toy sale, and we were passing them out to people on the floor. I'd go up to them and tap them on the shoulder, and and that's where people can actually, meet people and talk to them. That's why I met a lot of people. Cause I go and I tap them on the shoulder and I whisper to them like, "Hey," and they look back at me and I guess they would just indulge in the curiosity and they're like, "Hey, what's up?" I'm like, "I got what you need, man." They're like, "What's that?" "I got plastic crack." And I just give them the flyer, telling them to come to the room. And we got a lot of people come to the room, but the one person we got to come to the room, which was very interesting, and he came really late at night, and it was after the golden ticket reception. But it was Michael Dobson, who he is the only other voice actor to do Starscream and Cobra Commander, besides Chris Laton that did it back in the '80s. And he did I think it was Cyber. It was one of the trilogy, either Armada or Cybertron. It was Armada. It was the Armada one. He did Starscream, and then he played Cobra Commander, and I forget the TV series. But it was another series he did. And so here it is, like 12:30, almost 1 o'clock in the morning, and I mean, literally, we had just closed up, the room to room, and a bunch of us were already climbed into bed, and I'm fixing to. I mean, literally, I got one leg in bed, and someone comes knocking on the door, and Jim was standing at the door between the rooms, and I was like, "Jim, whoever it is, tell them to come back tomorrow. I don't got time for this." And he opens the door, and he's like, "Oh, hey, buddy," and all this, and the next thing I hear is this guy like, "Hey, I was coming for that drink of Jack, because we offered him some Jack Daniels if you wanted to come up to the room." And as soon as I hear the voice, I'm like, "No." And I look over the side of the room. I just couldn't believe he'd walked in there. He stayed there, I think, another hour with us, drinking and just do it. And that's one thing I can say about JoeCon is that a lot of the guests get really comfortable with the people who come to these shows. Especially for JoeCon, certain actors from BotCon era will, like David Kay. If you've never met the man, he's a super nice guy. I couldn't say enough nice words about the man. But he's a real, there's some people on that side that are really good. But I've noticed all the Joe celebrities are really, I think because they know maybe the Joe brands, got a foot and a half in the coffin already, and they want to keep it alive just as much. Like one year I stopped at I was in the airport, and Morgan Lofton was on my air flight, and I didn't even know it. And we talked at the airport for a few minutes afterwards. I was connected to another flight, and we talked for a little bit. Nice woman. Just take time to talk to people, even after the show at the airport. Didn't snug you off or nothing. She said there and talked to you still, like she was at the con still. Now, did you ever?
Part of that is, that they know that they're around their fan base, and if after the con or before the con or outside the con, if they're just kind of like, complete opposite of what they are when they're at their booth, taking your money to sign autographs and do panels and like, "Hey, I love, Transformer fans, GI Joe fans," or whatever like that. And then you catch them outside the element, if they were kind of standoffish and not very talkative, the fans are going to let, the organizers know, and then they probably won't get invited again. You know, I got to think that that's got to probably, not that these people aren't just nice people, but I got to think that that's got some to do with it too. You know,
Right. I mean, and like I
it's
said,
business.
right, it is. And, and with me being a promoter on the opposite side of it, having David Kay and Michael McConaughey back here in 2015, which they were the only two special guests I flew in, you know, super humble guys, great. Even the first night, or David flew in the red eye the morning of my show. And he came in, and we were just a 1-day show that before we went to a 2-day show. And when the show was over, I'm actually downstairs in the lobby, and I'm at the bar of all places drinking, and I get a text message, and it's David Kay, and he's like, "Hey, is there any good catfish places around here?" And of course, I knew of one right off the top of my head is like the best one, in Saline County. And I called them up and I said, "Hey, are y'all still open? How late are y'all open till?" And they had about, I think, 20 minutes to go. And I told them who I was with, and that I had a celebrity guest that was one catfish. I told them that it was the best place to come for it. And they actually stayed open and waited. And when we went, and when we got there, David wanted to go eat. And he gets in there, and it was me and my oldest daughter. And he goes up to the thing, and he said 3 people. I mean, he paid for my dinner. He sat there and he packed it away. We talked. He even talked to a good friend of mine on the telephone who hadn't seen him in a few years, and they talked for a few minutes. And that just, I mean, David Kay is like one of the, like I said, he's a super nice guy. He really is. And even at BotCon
that's all you hear about him.
Even at the BotCon this past year, I was standing in line to get an autograph on some new stuff I picked up. And when I got up to me, and he saw, because by then when he saw me at my show, I had my full beard. But then when we came around the BotCon, I actually had shaved my hair because I had let my hair grow out long, and I had, the beard was worse than Dakota's, and I actually shaved my head. I trimmed up the beard to a goatee. He looked at me for a second, and then he just put his pins down and came over and gave me a hug and asked me how I was doing. And and for someone like that to take the time, especially when you're in like the first 10 people waiting in line for an autograph, and there's a huge long line, for him to stop and do that is, super nice guy. And he just says, "Is this all you got? Is there anything else you need autographed?" He was going to do more than the 2, which I think he did. I had a couple of toys and the cards that came in the card selection from the club, and he signed all of it for me. And like I said, David Kay couldn't say enough nicer words about that man. And for people who don't know, he actually played in an episode of G.I. Joe Renegades. I don't remember the episode number or the season, because there's only like 2 seasons anyways, but he played Duke's father. I think it was like 1, maybe 2 episodes. And then last year kind of got a little different vibe off special guest, where we had Samantha Newark from Jim and the Holograms, and she also did some Transformers, or like what was it, 1 episode of Transformers, and that was it, I think.
What's the Alita one or somebody? Yeah,
it was Alita. So that same episode, it was like a flashback episode, I think is what it was. But anyway, we had her, super nice woman. I mean, super sweet. She would stop to do anything for a fan, to come around there and hug them all. Because, I mean, you would see some of these women, older women, even my sister, who's almost 50 years old, grew up watching her when she came to see her. As soon as she saw her, and she knew my sister was coming, my sister just started bawling like a teenage girl. And, Samantha comes around the corner and just hugs her, embraces her, and, "It's okay, sweetie. I get this all the time." Super nice woman. And then we had 3 Power Rangers, Steve Cardenas, Catherine Sutherland, and Nakia Burris. they were all super good. They did everything that was asked upon them. There was one issue with one of them on a morning radio show that I did, where as a promoter, I don't know to ask, is there certain questions they should or should not ask before the radio show starts? And I didn't know this. And the show I went on is called The Edge, and the morning show is a little edgy. And they kind of questioned Steve Cardenas's sexuality a little bit, because they asked him about the zipper being in the back and asked him if he jumped around in his suit and all this other stuff. And
Well, that's not edgy. That's prying into people's personal business. But
yeah, same way you look at it, they got
that's a sandbag job right there.
yeah. Well, he didn't like it. So when the interview was over, and we went to commercial. Oh my God, he ripped into all of us. He ripped into me. He ripped into both the DJs, and because he went along with it, which I guess he did that to make the show look good, for us at the show, my convention. But I mean, and he ripped into him, and they kind of had a few words back and forth and everything, but it was just something else, man. It really was. And so when he showed up, I apologized to him. He was super nice to me. Even the DJ who had a booth at the show went over there and talked to him. And actually, I think he apologized to him, said, hey, I'm sorry, that's just how we are. Like Mike said, he didn't know to ask those questions. And, something we all should have thought at the time, we didn't. Both the females who showed up were super nice, had a great time, so. And then this year, we have Gary Chalk, a couple of Power Rangers. And for people who follow on YouTube, we are going to have Paul, who's also known as Autobot, will be there. He doesn't know yet that y'all are rooming with him at the hotel. So
sandbag job.
Well, see, I'm actually going to talk to Paul and have him. I want to try to get him to show up on Thursday and take him to the radio show with me to do the interviews and everything, because I'm actually buying advertisement this year, so I'll get more leeway and more interview times. So I'll rather take someone with me than versus do another telephone interview again. So I'm hoping to get Paul here a day early to where he can go through that Friday morning to do it. But Paul's looking forward to it. He's actually I guess kind of surprised, because this will only be his second convention that he's been invited to. The first one being TF Expo in Wichita, Kansas, and then my show here in Arkansas, which it's amazing that the two of the not more popular states are getting him to come, and he's just like, oh, I just don't see where I'm that important, and blah 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 and all that. I'm like, and the funny part is that I went to take a flyer to a gaming store, and told them, and the girl asked me, if do y'all ever get she actually asked us, do you ever get YouTube reviewers? I said, look at the poster, that guy right there. I said, he's a YouTube reviewer, he's going to be at the show. And so she was actually kind of excited. So hopefully he has more than 5 people in the room. Hopefully my panels are, I do the best to get as many people I can in the panel. A lot of people stay in the dealer room and photography and the guests and all that, but I'm sure we'll get a lot of people in there. Usually if you go walk around and kind of, people who are like sitting outside and they're like taking a break or whatever, it's like, hey, come sit in here. I did that last year, and it actually worked out where I got like 30 people on the one panel for one of the Power Ranger guests, and so that worked out really well. But
yeah, I mean, if you put all the I don't know if eating and drinks are allowed in like those rooms, that you'd have panels, but whenever it comes lunchtime, and if you don't have any chairs like in lobbies and stuff like that to sit down, it was like, hey, you can sit on the floor, or you can go in here and listen to something, and while you can eat, it's kind of a
win-win.
Yeah. So
yeah, and that's actually smart that you would mention that, because we don't. This is like one big, huge. The room breaks into 5 rooms, but we got the whole building, and some areas are blocked off for panels and stuff. And we don't set up tables for people to sit down to eat unless it's outside, because we'll have a food truck vendor out there. And so we actually, we could probably get some people rounded up in there, I think.
See, the thing, what I would do is I would get rid of the tables and chairs outside, or maybe just have like one or two,
Right. That's all we actually do was put like one or two.
And then like, hey, additional seating is over here, and it's one of those not manipulated, even though you kind of are, but if you want someone to sit somewhere, you take the chair away from here and only provide one over here, then they're going to automatically flock to that without even thinking,
Mm-hmm.
Want a place to sit down, get off my feet for a while, eat, and hey, you got something playing in the background? Cool.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one thing we'd actually do, because there's two big, huge screens that come down in a room, and we actually play movies throughout the whole convention. So you can watch, you can hear the movie, and then you can look at stuff, talk to people. It actually works out really well. I think we haven't had a complaint yet. Did you, when you were growing up as a kid, did you play with a GI Joe Mini?
Oh yeah, I had a ton of them. I would get the normal, like a GI Joe or a vehicle bought for me every so often. But where I cleaned up was I was, friends with this guy. There's several times where I'm friends with someone and then their parents decide that they're too old to be playing with toys, and then my parents still allowed me to where they're like, do you want them? And then I just got, bins and bins and bins and bins, of all this stuff. So, I had like 2 Night Ravens. I had the Cobra Commander base. I had the GI Joe base. I probably had, I'm trying to think of what all, they're called. I probably had like 3 or 4 Hiss tanks. Like this dude that I got the collection from, he probably had like 20, 30 jets, and 20, 30 tanks. And the Terradrome, I believe is what it's called. The Cobra
Right.
base, the GI Joe base, like all that stuff, all the weapons, 100% complete. Like he was basically like a collector, but he was young. But parents were like, "All right, getting rid of the stuff."
How old was he? Would you say?
Well, we were the same age. I think it was 12, and not that I was really, or 11 or 12, and not that like I was really playing with it anymore. But then it's, like, I still had toys. I had 2 younger brothers that they would have, and so I didn't really play with my toys, but I kept them kind of like I guess like a collector, to where, because I was only in the G1, and so like that had already, come and gone, because by this time we're talking 94, 1994. So, I was done playing with them, but whenever it was like, hey, free GI Joe toys, and there's a ton of stuff that I always wanted as a kid.
Right.
But I was like, hey, I'd rather have Star Wars and He-Man and Transformers. So I was like, hey, here's just like some giant yard sale, and here it is all for free. I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. So I just took that huge haul, and we lived out in the country, so I kept all the GI Joe stuff out in the like the shed or whatever. And then I just go in the backyard, and every once in a while I'll be like, you know what? I kind of want to play with this stuff, even though I don't play with toys anymore. And I was back there 12 years old. I'm like, I never got to experience it on a level like this. So I wanted to do that. I guess it would be the same as, let's say you're a kid and like maybe your main thing was Transformers and GI Joe, and so that's what your parents mainly bought for you. You got every so often, maybe you got a He-Man and a Skeletor, but you watched the cartoon just like you watched the rest of them, and you saw these characters, and you went to friends' houses as a kid, and they always had them. You're like, oh man, it'd be so great to have that. And then you get a little bit older, you don't play with toys anymore, and you're not old enough to be really a collector. So again, like, let's say you're 12, and then all of a sudden, your friend's just like, dude, I'm like 4 figures off, and from being 100% complete of an entire Masters Universe, collection. I've got all the bases, all the vehicles, all the figures, except for maybe like 2 or 3 or 4. Do you want them for free? Hell yeah, you're gonna take them, and then you're gonna be like, you know what? Even though you don't play with toys anymore, you're gonna be back there playing with those, and set it up. Be like, you just go back to a child's mind and like, dude, this is what I imagined, it being like, that was my experience with G.I. Joe. I watched the cartoon like I did with all the rest of the stuff that I wanted, but parents, they have, so much money to spend on you on toys, video games and stuff, and G.I. Joe wasn't my main one, but it wasn't until I basically took a buddy's like huge collection.
And that, since you said you had 2 younger brothers, I guess those went hand-me-downs to them.
Yeah, and got destroyed pretty quickly. So,
Wow.
yeah, all my stuff, all my massive, all that stuff is actually probably whenever we moved, and it's in this like 3 outside 3-car garage, like all piled up, but I haven't been out to that land and or that house, and I haven't been out there in like almost 20 years, but I think my mom hadn't been out there in over a decade. It's all grown up and stuff. So we got another house and land, and all those toys, they're all out there, but there's probably snakes all over them and wasps.
Oh
But I'm
my
like,
gosh.
dude, I ain't messing with that. I'm like, no, I'll just buy it off eBay.
So, where is this? Where's that? This is in Texas too, where you live at?
Yeah, it's in Ben Wheeler.
So your mom has a house somewhere else where these toys are stocked at. See, you could be sitting on a gold mine and not even know it.
Yeah, had Star Wars, like the snow speeders, Y-wings, X-wings. They had 3 Millennium Falcons.
Oh wow!
Hundreds of figures. Yeah, because again, they found, like, one Christmas, they found a huge Star Wars slot where someone thought their kid was too old. I never hear about stories like this. Like, in today, my kid's too old to play with toys, so here's like, this like $5,000 collection that I want to give away for like $10, or something like that. It's like, where are these garage sales? Because I like hit some of them up, and I'm like, hey, what are you looking for? I'm like, you don't by chance have any like kids that grew up in the 70s or 80s that maybe had some toys in the garage or attic that you want to sell? They're like, no, my kids are like 4 or 5, so all the toys are like came out like the past few years. I'm like, yeah, I don't want those. So I'm looking for like 70s and 80s, maybe 60s, just for value.
Right. Now, I want to tell people what I got, but I know you got some new stuff this week or last. I saw where you posted you got the NECA turtles, and I see the raft there laying on the table. Did you go pick that up somewhere locally?
I ordered it direct from NECA, so it's not available yet. I think all the raft, all the other stores and comic shops and stuff like that, I think they get it in a week, or maybe like sometime in the beginning of March. But NECA had a limited stock on their eBay and Amazon site, and they were like, hey, we got Donnie in stock. And I was like, well, I've been waiting for BBTS to get Donnie in stock for like 3 months, and then here was Raph. I was like, you got them both? Yeah, I probably paid $20-$30 more than what I could have got them from BBTS, but I was like, dude, let me get them now.
Right. So
be done with it.
Okay, so Big Bad Toy Stores never got theirs in yet.
They said they got a limited amount of stock on Donnie, but majority of people never have got Donnie yet, and that they'll be getting him, this or next month. Because I've been talking with BBTS for the past few weeks, and they keep on telling me soon. I'm like, we've been saying soon for a couple months now.
Right.
Can we narrow it down a little bit more? And And then Raph, I actually got him early ordering direct from NECA, but they're probably sold out.
Right. See, see when I come down there at the end of March for a Dallas Fan Expo with you, I'm going to try to maybe that Friday if I leave early enough, I might just go straight into Dallas and then come back up to Tyler. But I know I want to go to what's that place? A Dallas Vintage Toys.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
They actually posted on their Facebook page that they had I think it was last week sometime they had 4 Donnies in stock. Man, I want to say they just recently posted they had a Raph. Maybe I'm wrong. I can't remember correctly.
If
But I remember
they had to order it directly from
from
NECA.
NECA. Yeah, so that's why I was getting to that because you had said NECA only on that one.
Yeah, so where BBTS, it had it for 99, $100, and shipping I think was $12 on it, without doing any combined shipping per figure. NECA actually had it for like 115 or something like that, and then like $12-15 for shipping, so when I added the two, I ended up, I was like, I'm paying about $25 more than what I would have with BBTS, but I'm like, let's just get it over with.
I've noticed here recently that Big Bad's not getting their stock in like they used to. So I'm kind of curious if they, kind of ticked Hasbro off because I'm a wholesaler with Entertainment Earth, and Entertainment Earth was supposed to have the exclusive the 50th anniversary Joe packs this past year that did not happen literally, I heard a rumor that Big Bad was getting them, and then all of a sudden Big Bad had them up for pre-order, and then I tell Entertainment Earth, my guy, like, hey, what's going on? I thought it was just you and Toys R Us. And then like 2 days later, he calls me. He's like, we're not getting them. And at this point, I had 20 cases of Joe figures ordered, and I wasn't getting them, and I had a lot of them pre-ordered, pre-sold. And but then after all that happened, Big Bad took them down, the pre-orders, and said that they were told to by Hasbro and weren't allowed to put them up until a certain date. So I'm kind of wondering because of them doing that they're kind of being punished now and not getting stuff. It's kind of like take Orson for example, Captured Prey. He's got.
Oh, to add to that, BBTS I saw yesterday and today to where they posted the picture of Marvel Legends, the new X-Men wave, which has Old Man Wolverine, Cyclops and Colossus, all of them, and it doesn't even have a link for most of them. Like all of them, they say, hey, here's this, up for pre-order here, and they leave the link or whatever. It was just the picture of the wave, and it says that these will go up for pre-order on April 15th or something like that. So which is almost like, a little less than 2 months away. And I'm like, if you know that they're gonna go up for, why don't you just throw the pre-order up now? Because I got stuff on pre-order for you guys that is almost a year out. Like some DC collectible stuff that that's coming out in October, November. I've got that on pre-order, and so there's never been a problem with that. But this is where it kind of goes to what you're saying, that they're like, oh, this will go up for pre-order April 15th or 12th or something. I'm like, this is showing up in some people's stores already.
Well, these are in Target stores. I mean, I have seen them. Matter of fact, I went looking for Rick the other day.
Yeah, he's got them. I'm looking for them too, but
right. Oh, are you? Which ones are you looking for? The whole wave?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep an eye out for you then. Those are they've been at our Targets. They've already, the first wave's already come out, or the waves come out. They've all been bought up, and of course, they'll get another one in. You've got, usually they restock pretty fast. But anyways, and I was that went up for going up late with pre-order. But I noticed Orson has gotten 6 shot in. Hasbro Toy Shop has gotten 6 shot in. BBTS has got it, but Entertainment Earth, who is considered one of Hasbro's main distributors, has not gotten it yet.
Oh, he started to show up in regular retail. I saw yesterday too.
Exactly. See,
That's what I'm
and
waiting on because Walmart has it for leader class $40, and I'm like, well, I'd rather pay $40 versus versus
50.
46 or 48, whatever they have it for, and then plus shipping for a big box.
Right. You see,
I'm such a cheap ass.
yeah, I know how that is. I am my guy at Entertainment Earth. He actually called me um, a week or so ago, and he left a message, and he says, "Hey, I need to talk to you. I can't leave." It's always funny. He tells me, "I can't email you this information. I can't leave you a voicemail over this information. You need to call me back." And I'm thinking in the back of my head, "Oh my God, he's talking about Tripicon. He's ready to take pre-orders on Tripicon." I call him. Oh yeah, yeah, we got some new information on some new Transformers. This is a early pre-order, but pre-order won't go up until May for Titans Return Deluxe Figures Wave 5 or 4. And I'm like, dude,
4.
right? I think it was 5. It's 5. I'm like, dude,
Still.
those are hitting in Walgreens. Walgreens are getting these things. It's the one with Cup and Perceptor, and
That's wave 4.
okay, then that's that one. And
That's
I'm
what
like,
I'm looking in stores for right now.
and I'm like, no, dude. I said, no, I'm not looking. No, I'm not going to wait till May for a pre-order, and then wait how much longer after that? Just like the Voyager Prime and Megatron took for that was supposed to hit back in December. Didn't get that till this week. It finally hit.
Yeah,
And
I saw them start showing up in Walmart
yep,
2 or 3
Walmart.
weeks ago.
Yeah,
Like
Walmart.
3 weeks
Walmart
ago.
was rocking it. I mean, every Walmart I went to had them. And here's what makes me mad is that I order these and I pre-sell them before I order them. So Dakota got the Megatron, I got a Megatron, and a buddy of mine got both of the Optimus Primes. And I think you saw this in the thread we talk on, didn't you?
Yeah, something about
I left them
someone
in my
stole them or
work truck.
something.
Yeah, put them in my work truck for him to come pick up because he said that if he was coming to town to pay a bill, he'd stop by and pick it up. Okay, cool. I'll leave him out there for you because I had to be somewhere and I was gone all day. So it was Wednesday. I was out looking for Rick's stuff and some other stuff for myself. And I'm out there and I come home. I didn't say nothing to him till Thursday or Friday. Thursday. I said something to him. I'm picking him up. He's like, I didn't come by and get him. I'm like, stop playing, dude. And he's like, I'm not playing. He's like, I'm for real. I didn't come get him. So I've never had this problem in my house. So somebody came, opened up my bread truck of all things, and stole a Hasbro box out of my cab. Out of anything else they could have stolen, they took a box of toys, which of course there was nothing else in the truck besides paperwork. So these toys get stolen out of my car, and so I have to go out and buy 2 more primes to replace the ones that would have been his. So that was a little irritating on that.
Oh, I imagine.
Yeah, and, especially using the money of course, the money I get paid off of, I'm using it to purchase something for myself, for my collection. But I was saying, like I'd asked you about those NECAs. I had actually picked up there's a comic book store here, not locally in Benton, but in another town, and he bought a huge GI Joe collection. I think this guy had every Rise of Cobra figure that ever came out. I mean, he has every single figure, but he had some other harder items to find, and I picked up. It's called a Moneybags Destro, and it's basically a Destro in like a leather jacket kind of looking thing, but then he has a briefcase with money in it. So and he's like a $40 figure, which is amazing, just because they call him Moneybags Destro. But then, of course, they have those exclusives that came out at
San
I think it
Diego
was
Comic Con, right?
2007 San Diego Comic Con. It was Pimp Daddy Destro, and I love that thing. If I ever cosplay, it's going to be Pimp Daddy Destro. I'm going to get me some leopard print pants I'm going to get me a gold helmet and wear that bad boy because I love Destro. Destro is like my favorite Cobra figure of all time. I mean, favorite villain. So he always got the short end of the stick. But well, I've been going for an hour and 31 minutes, and I rambled on. We didn't get to talk about too much news because the club hasn't come out with nothing really to talk about except for they announced Larry Hama. They also one thing I didn't mention, they actually opened up another hotel block at the Swan and Dolphin, which was the rate before was $179.99, and then there's a $20 charge for resort fee per night. So basically, you're paying $200 a night per room.
Oh, because it's at
Swan and Dolphins Disney Resort.
Okay.
And then which it's a gorgeous hotel. I've been there before. And
I don't understand stuff like that. Like if you automatically charge your hotel rate and you automatically get charged 20 for resort fee, why not just be like, hey, that's understood that that's in the thing, and just say, hey, it's 200. Like hotel stay here is 200.
Right, you're going to pay it regardless, but they figure if they kind of like explain it like you're stupid, I guess, that it's okay. You understand it better that way than charging it.
It's the same thing with the hotel at the in Dallas where we're going to stay, to where it's like, all right, well, it's this price. Parking is 15. I'm like, we know that they're gonna charge for parking, but why don't you just put parking in the price? So like, hey, here's actually the total price, and then whenever you get there, like, hey, parking for hotel guests is free.
Right, and they
where they will let other people in the parking lot, charging them though, I believe.
Exactly, they will. We did that at BotCon 2010, my first show I ever went to, and they charge you a rate to park there. But like I told everybody on my my live videos, when I went there, when we went up to Disney back in July last year, I think it was June or July, and we actually stayed at the Yacht Club, which is right next door to the other hotel, to a Swan and Dolphin. So when we were done going to the parks, I actually walked over there and got information and did live videos to show people that the hotel and the whole ballroom and everything had been completely remodeled since JoeCon hadn't been there since 2011. But anyways, what they did, they got a second rate or second room block, but the rate is actually higher. It's $199 a night plus $20 resort fee. So now you're paying $220 a night. And
that's high.
And then if you're going
on Disney too,
right? But I mean, if you're going to go to the parks, they got discounted tickets for the parks. But I mean, you're still spending $100 to get in for a day, if that, maybe more. It's high. I mean, I'm not going for Disney when I go to JoeCon now. We have scheduled another vacation in August, I think right after the girls go to school, but we're taking them out for a week and we're going to Disney again for another week. But I mean, that's just, that for the price we're paying, that's our resort, that is our parks, 4 park passes per time we go for me, the wife, and both kids. That's our stay. That's even our meals and snacks. And we're paying like, I think $5,000 and some change. But, I mean, that's not bad. I mean, you get time to pay it off over the time period, and that's even that includes this little thing. You get a little wristband, and you get to take the pictures with this, the actors, but the people who dress up as Pluto and Mickey and Minnie, and they take your picture, and then you go up there, and then they scan your little bracelet. And then it goes to this other thing, and then all your pictures are downloaded. You ain't got to carry a camera around with you and take your pictures like you used to have to back 20 years ago. So Disney's evolved over the years.
But But you say, but I go back to you like, yeah, that's about $5,000, and then you're trying to talk about like, oh, you don't have to carry your pictures around, like they just digitally stuff. That reminds me of like Independence Day, where the guy is like, you don't think they spend like $400,000 for a toilet seat, do you? 200 grand for a hammer,
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
we got one of these local commercials too, where it's like this stereo place, and they're like, no longer do you have to like get up off the couch and go turn a knob, to increase your volume. Now you can sit there, when you turn the lights, on, and your AC kicks on and your music will start playing. I'm like, yeah, to install all that stuff though, you're talking a few $1,000s. You know what? If you're too lazy to just get up off the couch and turn the knob, who doesn't have a remote anyway? But like, they're like, no longer do you have to get up off the couch to go walk over there to turn the knob and push a bunch of buttons. I'm like, y'all make this out like you're digging ditches or something. What kind of commercial is this? Like, get off your ass, go, if you don't have a remote, get off your ass and go over there and turn the knob. Change it CD to DVD, whatever you need to do, or go buy a universal remote for $20.
Oh, yep. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and call it a night there, I guess. I know we didn't talk a whole lot of GI Joe. We talked about this. We talked about that. Talked about a little bit of everything. I know we'll be back on in 2 weeks from tonight, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we will actually have a topic of discussion. We will actually judge or rate our best Joe Con modern era figures. So that would be really 2009, 11, and up, because 2010 was an O-ring set. But I was just talking, because I was actually messaging a lot of people trying to get someone to come on. I didn't actually think to ask you, because I knew you didn't know a whole lot about Joe's, and I figured you wanted a weekend off until you messaged me. You're like, hey, you need somebody?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different people, that would be better on here for you. They could talk Joe back and forth, but I know that how hard it would be to do just a show on your own. So,
All right, and I messaged. Well, Fred has a migraine; he's under the weather and everything, so he wouldn't be able to make it. And then I sent a message to Dakota and Rick, and our Joe messenger, and Dakota messaged me about 30 minutes ago, so he was out eating. Imagine that, how we were just talking about him and his food. So he was out with his parents, and then Rick was just exhausted. I also I messaged Jesse from the club, and after you came on, he messaged me back. He was like, "Oh shit, well, I guess next time." So maybe he'll come on in a couple of weeks, and then hopefully we'll get I want to, because I might get Rick in on this one. I think he might want to do this one with the modern era, and so maybe we have Fred and me and then another guy named Evan. We goes by Duff Man. So I'm gonna try to get about 5 or 6 guys on where we can have a good discussion about that. Because we don't. You can only talk about so many things about Joe Con when you're not getting much news in. So we'll. That'll give us 2 weeks to plan and have something to discuss about on that. So I do appreciate you coming on tonight, man. Thanks a lot. And go ahead and sign out, and you can tell people where they can find you at.
All right. Well, you can find me on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram at G1 Hexatron, and Facebook pages The G1 Hexatron.
And then you can find both of us next Saturday night on the same channel for Cybercast at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then are we doing Gumbo at 8:30?
Yep.
And Galactic Gumbo?
I got some good new topics.
Cool. And then we'll be on Galactic Gumbo 8:30 Central Standard Time on the G1 Hexatron channel. Again, I'm Mike, your host. You can find me here on YouTube, and then find me on Twitter as BotconFan1978, and His Tank forums as GI Joe Comics 08. And for you watching us next week, I'll see you next week. If not, we'll see you in 2 weeks back here again. Thanks a lot for tuning in.
All right. Peace.